building it up, I think just now, there are things that you can do. So what the main thing that platforms like, all the inbox providers, so Gmail, Yahoo, the rest of them, what they are looking for is they're looking for engagement. So are people opening your emails? Are they clicking them and are they replying to them? So what I like to do is when someone first comes onto an email list with a brand, we want to get them engaging straight away. So we want to get them opening, we want to get them clicking, and we want to get them hopefully replying. So the first kind of interaction that a brand has with a new subscriber, for the most part, is going to be the welcome sequence, which is, someone puts their email address in the footer or a pop-up or a quiz or whatever your lead generation point is. They're going to go through the welcome sequence. That might be 3, 5, 7 emails, whatever it is. So what we want to do is we want to get the engagement on that sequence as high as possible.
Welcome to Show Me the Nuggets, where each week Joe chats with world-class entrepreneurs to find out the key principles, strategies, and processes that lie behind their outstanding achievements. Now, your host, the no-bullshit serial entrepreneur, Joe Troyer.
Hey guys, it's Joe Troyer here from Digital Triggers and Show Me the Nuggets, and I'm super excited to talk to Ryan Turner today, who runs an email and Shopify or Eecom specific agency. So Ryan is from emailfunnels.agency and also frontrowcommerce.com. And guys, I'm super excited because I've been going through some of Ryan's content, and I actually reached out as somebody that went and actually watched this content. And I was like, man, I would love to have you on the podcast. So guys, we got a special treat with us here today. What's up, Ryan Turner?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for the intro. Really excited to be here. Love your stuff.
Awesome, man. Well, we're excited to have you. I know that we got a ton of agency owners here that watch our show. We got people that do stuff specifically for Eecom, so I think that this will be a fit for them. I know that we do have some people that do Eecom every once in a while for your clients, so I think that, or for their clients, so I think this will be a good fit for them. And then I know that there's some people like me as well that have like side projects and things that they do on the side, and they're playing with Shopify. So I think that that's a good fit for them as well. So I think we got kind of 3 audiences here that, man, I think we'll really get a ton of value out of today.
Great. Hopefully we should have something for everyone.
Awesome, man. So you run an email funnel agency. Why don't we start there? Tell us a little bit about that agency, how that works, how you got started, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So so my main project is called emailfunnels.agency, and we're very specialized. All we really do is run email marketing, both done for you and kind of strategy consulting, and we just do it for e-commerce brands. So anyone on like Shopify, Magento, WooCommerce, just help them figure out their back end, their lead generation, and just try and get the best ROI possible on all this money they're spending on ads and influencers and all the rest of it, making sure they're getting the most out of that. So it's very focused. It's just email, just for e-commerce, and it's actually pretty much just using one platform, which is Klaviyo, which I personally believe is, for most e-commerce brands, the best email solution out there. So we've chosen to specialize just in helping brands using that tool and getting the most out of it.
So I'm curious, Ryan, in your opinion, why do you think Klaviyo is the best or Klaviyo is the best? And maybe who wouldn't be the right fit? You said almost everyone, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, they really are at the cutting edge. The amount of money that they invest into new features and new developments and just making the platform better is like, I've never seen anything like it. All they're doing is releasing new updates, new features that are mostly coming from their community all the time. They're also very specialized. So, there's all these email platforms out there, ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, and things like that. And the way I look at those programs, those softwares, they were originally built just to do email for everybody. And then after, they were like, oh, Shopify's taken off, let's build a Shopify integration and like capitalize on that. But Klaviyo was built from day one for e-commerce from the ground up. So everything they've ever done has had e-commerce brands in mind. So like the kind of functionality and segmentation and targeting that you can do on their platform, there's nothing else like it out there, unless you look at really enterprise platforms that cost, like 6 figures a year that like these tier one, like 8-figure brands are using. They bring like those kind of technologies to smaller brands that are doing like, 10, 20, 50 grand a month on their own little Shopify store. So yeah,
Makes a
that's
lot of
why I
sense.
think it's the best.
Okay. So everybody should be using it basically, except for those that are, doing 7, 8 figures plus and can pay for some custom type of stuff being built. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there is a level where, you're doing multiple, say hundreds of millions a year. You might be looking at custom solutions and things like that. But really, I would say like 99% of the brands, that are going to be watching this, you can't go wrong with Klaviyo if you're balancing cost and functionality.
Perfect. And then how'd you get started in the industry, so to speak? Did it start with ecom? Did it start with agency? Where are you from? How'd you end up where you are today?
Yeah, so I've really just been in e-commerce. I mean, it's pretty much all I've ever done. I started off in affiliates. I'm in London, where I'm from. Moved to Worked at a few affiliate networks. Moved into display for years. Then moved to New York City to work at actually to launch an e-commerce analytics software company in the US. Did that for a few years. Then transitioned into Facebook ads. I actually worked at Jason Hornung's Facebook ads agency for a couple of years, ran some pretty big campaigns with him, and then really just wanted to change. And Facebook was becoming more and more difficult. It was becoming less and less profitable on the front end, and people were starting to think, okay, like I'm breaking even on these ads. How can we get more from our customers and things like that? And people are starting to think, okay, email is kind of like forgotten about, maybe not that sexy, but now you see why these massive brands are sending so many emails, because that's where you make the money. So when I wanted to change, I just kind of looked into that a few years ago and just went with it and started to do really well.
Perfect. Perfect. So that's a nice segue, right? So it's like you're making money, you're breaking even, whatever the scenario is on the front. It's like how can we create more revenue? How do we get people to reorder, things like that. So I originally stumbled across one of your posts. I know that we were connected on LinkedIn. We had chatted before, and then I came across, dude. I got to give you props. An epic piece of content. That video that you have talking about the 3 steps to generate 30% more ecom sales was very, very good. So
Thanks.
props on that. I'd love to kind of walk through kind of what that post was at the highest level to catch everybody up for our combo here today.
Yeah, for sure. So that was just a high level case study of basically everything you need to be doing as an e-commerce brand in email at a high level. And it's free for anyone. You can actually get it at frontrowcommerce.com slash case hyphen study. And basically, I mean, really, we're just talking about how email can, wherever you're spending money, wherever you're advertising, wherever your traffic and sales are coming from, if you get email right, it makes everything that you're doing more effective, because everybody that comes to your site becomes instantly more valuable if you have all these email strategies set up to make them buy again or to turn leads to customers and things like that. So if we want to talk about the 3 steps to drive as much revenue as you can from email, the first step of that is going to be optimizing your lead generation. So you could have the best e-commerce site in the world, 10% of your visitors could buy, but still you're losing 9 out of 10 people, and even then you're outperforming basically every brand out there. So we want to get as many visitors onto this email list as possible. So that's the first step. They obviously have some interest. They might not buy today, but they might buy 6 weeks from now if they're on your email list. So the first step is going to be really getting your lead generation strategy in place. So that's going to be using things like on-site messaging, so exit intent overlays, pop-ups, the standard stuff that you see all the time. You see it all the time because it works, like 10% off your first order or free shipping. And even a lot of these brands that typically don't discount, they are offering incentives on their first order, because they know how valuable, like they'll do basically anything to get someone in the door. And if you have good products, they just want to get someone to make that first purchase. They know they're sold on the products after that. So they're offering like, sometimes even 20% off to get them on the email list and to get that first order. So that's the first step. And something else I really try and get brands to do as well, is use other forms of lead generation. And a big one of those is going to be quizzes. So like lead gen quizzes right now for e-commerce are massive. They convert really, really well. The lead you get is not just an email address. It's an email address along with the answers to like 10 or 15 questions about preferences, problems, pain points that you can then segment on the back end with email and send people targeted offers and things like that.
Makes
So
sense.
quizzes and pop-ups or overlays, whatever you want to call them, those are my two go-to lead generation methods that really work well. After that, so step two would be, all right, you're building up this list of non-buyers. What are we going to do now? So really in that welcome sequence, which is the sequence someone gets after signing up as a non-buyer, we really want to try and cover every reason that someone might not buy from your brand in the first few days. So you want to focus on things like your USPs, anything you can highlight about how your product's made, the quality, problems it solves, any kind of educational content that you can put out that your market's going to be interested in, and obviously a bunch of social proof. And those right there cover most of the reasons that someone might not buy from a brand, obviously apart from price, which is hopefully going to be overcome with any kind of coupon and things like that. So that's usually what the initial sequence looks like when someone signs up for an email list via quiz or some kind of overlay. After that, we want to go into post-purchase stuff. So this is where a lot of brands fall down. Like most brands know you got to build a list, you got to follow up with the list, but you make that first purchase, and what happens after that? You might get an email for like, oh, here's 10% off your next order or whatever. And then after that, that's pretty much it. I really like to see brands go into detail in the post-purchase phase. So what that means is, if I bought this best-selling product, or I bought, something from this very specific category, we want this person to, over the following weeks, go down a specific follow-up path that has cross-sells and upsells that are recommending items based on what they've recently purchased. And if you can go into that kind of detail in your post-purchase phase, rather than just sending someone like a generic, make another purchase email, you're really going to start to get, higher lifetime values and just more repeat purchasers, which is, what everybody wants. And, some brands think of that and they might be like, well, I've got 200 products. How am I going to put a different follow-up path in for everyone? But the reality is, it's kind of like an 80-20 thing. Like probably a very few of those products, or at least a couple of categories, are generating most of the sales. So if you can start from the top, take your high volume items, the stuff that's really making you money and bringing customers in, and make sure that those items have their own paths for products that you want to cross-sell and upsell over the following weeks after someone makes that purchase. You're really going to see great results on the back end. And then, somewhat related to that is reorder and replenishment as well. So if I buy something I don't know, if I buy a 6-pack of LaCroix or a 30-pack of LaCroix, in 30 days, I should be getting an email to buy that again and hopefully put me on some kind of subscription or something like that. So reorder and replenishment is a big one too. So those are some of the things that we like to focus on in the post-purchase phase, along with VIP, win back, and all the stuff that most people do. But really those specific post-purchase sequences are where a lot of these repeat sales come from if you're giving people targeted follow-ups based on what they've bought. And then really after that, so that's kind of a summary of some things we do with automations. And obviously you have the abandoned cart and things like that everybody knows and loves. This is kind of half of an email strategy. And on the other side, you have the stuff that's not automated. So the things is maybe not quite as sexy. Everybody loves these email automations, it's set it and forget it, sales 24/7. But really that's only going to generate about half of your potential revenue from email. The other stuff is going to be your campaigns calendar. So your newsletter, your sales promotions, any content you're sending out. So we like to get brands, building a comprehensive calendar that has a few emails a week, that is, running promotions, but also giving content like thought leadership, educational stuff, highlighting customer reviews, just single product promotions that don't include any discounts or anything like that, and really just have a balanced campaigns calendar so that you're remaining top of mind, and you're not just monotone. You're not just like selling and giving discounts or just talking about your products all the time. You're really sending people a balanced calendar, and if you do that, I mean, you can get away with sending a lot. I mean, some brands email every day. And if you have a big enough team and you're in the right market, you can come up with something valuable to talk about every day. It's not going to be the case for most, but most brands can email a couple of times a week. And if you just do that consistently, plan it out in advance, then you're going to generate as much again or more than you do from your automations. So it's kind of a summary of what the whole process looks like.
That's beautiful. And as an agency, is it kind of like step one is your setup, right? Then step two is part of your setup too, and then step three is kind of then we do that every month? Or are you constantly working on step two and step three? How do you roll it out as your agency, the three different steps? How's that actually work in reality, right?
Yeah, so it depends where the brand's starting from. So usually there's kind of one or two situations. So the first situation is they've kind of just like blown up either from ads or from some kind of viral products, and they've realized they don't really have any email in place. They might be doing abandoned cart or something like that, or just something that Shopify sends out, and they don't really have anything. They're overwhelmed and like, we just need everything. So in that situation, really priority number one is to get the automation set up and to get some kind of consistent schedule. So like, let's just get something out once a week, like a newsletter or something, while we're building out like a content calendar for the coming months and starting to plan something out, or really getting those automations set up as quickly as possible. Once the automations are done, they do require some ongoing optimization and split testing and things like that. But it doesn't take too much time. Then we're really focusing on, let's up the campaigns frequency. Let's look at things like the segments that we're sending your emails to, and really focusing on like sending out a balanced campaigns calendar, figuring out what you want to do for the next few months with holidays, promotions, and things like that. And then other brands, they have everything up and running. It's doing pretty well, but it's just time intensive, and they know that they're like kind of just checking the email box, and they're not getting as much as they can out of it, because sitting down and planning a campaigns calendar for the next 3 months and actually creating it and making it happen is just a lot of work, and it's not exciting. And they're trying to focus on like their influencer strategy and like new Facebook ads and stuff like that. And all that, they're really only sending out one email a week when they know they should be sending out three, but they don't know what to send. They don't just want to keep sending these coupons out all the time. So that's like the other side. And those guys will probably need some work in their automations too. But generally they just need someone with the time and resources to get the like consistent campaigns going out, which is something a lot of brands just don't do unless it's like a holiday or like July 4th or something like that.
Yeah, Black Friday, Christmas, like whatever the
Yeah,
main.
you get to Black Friday and you're like, damn it, like we've not done anything. Like, I mean, now we're like 10 days before Black Friday as we do this
I'm sure you're
call.
getting hit
So
a bunch. Hey, crap, we don't have anything right now. Like,
yeah, yeah. And it's if you haven't sent any emails all year and now you just want to start blasting big lists of emails for Black Friday, I mean, it's not as easy as that, because you might have a lot of people in there that you shouldn't be emailing. You can do yourself some real damage if you're emailing the wrong people and things like that. So you kind of need to be prepared in advance.
100%. So talking about front row commerce, your training that you're working on releasing, and then email funnels, that agency, who's the right fit for each of those different services you offer, right? The done for you, done with you, versus a course.
Yeah, so the agency stuff, so emailfunnels.agency, there's two things we really do there. One is just a complete, hands-off done for you. So a brand, maybe they understand email very well, but they just don't have the resource in-house. Maybe they just have no idea and just don't want to figure it out, but obviously have the funds to do so. So any brands that fall into one of those two categories, they're doing, more than 50,000 a month or so in revenue. Pretty good fit to talk to us and, run through a strategy call and see if there's anything that we can do. And, we've worked with brands doing anywhere from 50,000 a month, a few like startups that want to get everything set up that have funding, all the way up to, like millions of dollars a month in some cases, but most fall, somewhere in between those. And then Front Row Commerce is a new venture that I've just launched that is really just focusing on training and education. Because there's a lot of brands out there that want to understand email. They don't necessarily have the funds to, hire a full service agency to do everything for them. Or maybe they do, but they really want to do it in-house. They want to know that they're doing it right. I've taken most of the training programs out there that are focused on email for e-commerce, and there's some okay ones out there. But I felt that there was a gap in the market for something that is just like comprehensive, that leaves absolutely nothing out and is really just everything that you need to know to really get the best possible result. So I took about, it must be 4 months almost full time just creating this program. It kind of grew into a bit of a beast, but it's finally finished. So that is really for brands who want to do email themselves. They want to make sure that they have the absolute best strategy, and they want like a really in-depth training that is going to take a long time to implement. But once they have it, it's really going to be a solid system. And there's support that comes with that, like a Facebook group and things like that. So, and we have some agencies in there beta testing it, some e-commerce brands in there beta testing it, and generally people are saying this is incredible. Definitely the most comprehensive thing I've ever taken. So really good feedback. And we're just kind of in the process of launching it now. By the time this comes out, there will be a free trial available where someone can just go through, start the content, no credit card required. You can just check it out. If you like it, you can pay to unlock the rest. So by the time this comes out, that'll be available.
Beautiful. So on the done for you side, really high end, 50K a month, kind of plus in sales, or somebody that has some funding, right? And then with the course, it sounds like probably mostly that audience as well, right? Unless you're an agency, which could be watching right here, right now, and you want to do this for your clients, you're really looking for probably 50K a month plus, unless you're an agency with an Eecom client or a handful.
The course is going to be very reasonably priced. Like I would say anyone that's having any success with Shopify will be able to afford the course. I don't really want to say the price now because I haven't actually launched it yet and I haven't decided what the price is going to be. So I don't want to say it and
Yep.
it's going to be wrong. But the course is designed like there shouldn't be anyone that's doing anything on Shopify that can't afford this course. I wanted to like get this out there to a lot of people, so it will be very, very affordable. So it's not one of these like high ticket like $10,000 packages or anything like that. So yeah, I have a lot of people speak to me, they can't afford agency stuff, but I'm really trying to make the course as affordable as possible for anyone who's having any kind of success in ecom. So I would definitely say that's a mass market product.
So obviously you've went through, Ryan, quite the learning curve, right? And you've went through lots of courses. You said you've had lots of clients. It took you 4 months just to record this product. Where do you go for inspiration, right? Like who do you watch? Who are the brands that you watch, or what are the tools that you use? Like where do you learn, Ryan? Like who do you watch?
One of the only people that I watch, obviously I'm very familiar with your stuff. You put out great stuff. My favorite person in this whole industry is Sam Ovens. Like
Mm,
that guy is just
yeah,
a different level. I've been in his stuff. He started making courses, I think, back in 2013. I've pretty much bought everything he's ever made. I'm actually the top affiliate for his current program, Consulting Accelerator. The amount I've learned from that guy is just, I think he is
yeah,
the number one. The other guy that really inspires me, who I like to model, is Jason Hornung. Like I said,
yeah.
I worked at his agency for a couple of years. He is the real deal. Everything he does is, just best in class. Honestly, I try and limit like I'm kind of
definitely.
like a low information diet kind of guy. I like to take a few people and it's like, all right, these guys are legit, and then try and block out like a lot of other stuff.
You have to.
So like for Facebook ads and just general agency stuff, I really like Jason. For everything else, from mindset to anything to do with online business, I think everybody should follow Sam Ovens because that guy cuts through all of the BS.
Yeah.
So I would say those two guys for sure.
Beautiful. And then thoughts on how you stay on the bleeding edge in terms of ecom, right? For anybody that's trying to stay on that bleeding edge, they're not you going through all these campaigns, right? They're not running dozens of different Shopify brands, email marketing. Like where should they go as a beginner, so to speak, or what brand should they look at to see somebody that's right now is doing it well?
Yeah, so I mean, if you specifically want to talk about email, there are a couple of brands that I really like. I'll get onto those in a minute. In terms of like if you're just small and starting out or doing stuff with ecom, I mean, I just keep up with everything, via Facebook groups, really. So there's the couple of big Shopify groups, like the Shopify Entrepreneurs Group. I have a Shopify email group on Facebook, is pretty small. And then a couple of the major Facebook ads groups. Like between those, if you're just in a couple of those, you're going to be on the pace. Anytime Facebook changes, you're going to know about it. Anytime someone's doing something different with like messenger bots or email, it comes out in those groups, and anything that's worth knowing is going to be in there. So I would say go in a couple of the biggest Shopify groups and a couple of the biggest Facebook ad groups, and you're going to be covered. And in terms of brands that I like to follow, like I said, we really do stuff with mainly just with Klaviyo now. Any of their featured case studies that they put out on their blog, those brands really know what they're doing. So a couple that come to mind, man, I'm going to blank here. Bomb Tech Golf is one of their great case studies. Taylor Stitch is one of their great case studies. Any brand that is featured as a case study on Klaviyo's blog is for a reason, and you should follow them for email for sure. I'll reel off a couple of brands that I follow religiously for email. One is Anne Marie Gianni skincare. Another one is Glossier, kind of big VC funded like makeup brand. Another one is Casper, like the mattress brand. Another one is Perfect Keto, and then another one is Bulletproof, like Dave Asprey's kind of biohacking brand. Most of those guys, they send out a lot of email. They do a lot of content. They sell via content, which is the approach I like to take. And they have a good balance between promotion, sales, value add, and things like that. So those are a few brands that I really like to follow.
And then looking at your going through that training that you had, you listed a piece of software that actually follows the major brands and their emails. What was that tool called?
Yeah, sure. So this is a tool that I use every day. It's called mailcharts.com. Basically, you can kind of like quote unquote track a brand in there, and it signs up to all these brands. Most of them are e-commerce. It will like buy something, sign up to their newsletter, and basically map out everything that they're sending. And you can see. So I use it all the time for inspiration. So like a couple of those brands that I just mentioned, I'm almost looking like, what have they done last month? What did they do last year for like Thanksgiving or July the 4th and things like that? And so if you track a couple of competitors in your industry, track a couple of like aspirational brands. And so yeah, mailcharts.com. I don't have any affiliation with them, but yeah, you can just track brands and basically see everything that they're doing with email, design, subject lines, everything. Go on, find like Black Friday ideas, and yeah, it's a really great resource.
Yeah, that's fantastic. When you were going through your case study, I had never heard of them before. So that
Yeah,
was a great find.
I actually only came across them maybe a year ago. I didn't even realize that was a thing, honestly. Like, never even realized to even look for something like that. Yeah, really great tool.
Beautiful. So focusing on kind of number three, right? So not lead gen. Well, lead gen would be step one. Step two would be the post-purchase sequences, all the automated stuff. Focusing then on three, do you think that there's a good balance on how many emails you should be sending? Like obviously we know brands that get away with five, or 7 days a week. We know brands that are only sending a couple of week. Is it really like just do what you can, send as much as you can, like and then obviously watch like the unsubs and see what's best for your niche? Is that like what you would advise people, or?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, frequency once a week can be right, and like every day can be right. But my rule is don't send anything like if you don't have anything valuable to send. Like if you're going to be sending emails every day, you need to be putting out a lot of good stuff, and people need to be pleased to open your emails. Generally, if you're going to do higher frequency, you really want to learn segmentation and how to figure out who you need to be sending to. Because most brands, there are going to be a segment of people that will happily read an email from you every day, even though most brands aren't going to get to that stage where they're sending those. So you really need to figure out segmentation, and that basically, like, a very high level of that is you're just looking at your email list and you're saying who is actually responding to what I'm sending in the last X number of days. And the period that you use is defined by how frequently you send email. So if you're only sending like one email a week, you might look and say, okay, I'm going to send this to anyone that has engaged with any of my emails in the last 90 days. That means they would have received 12 emails in the last 90 days. And if they haven't opened any of those 12, like, don't bother emailing them again. For the most part, it's just no point, apart from maybe like Black Friday or something. So you just want to make sure that you're emailing people who are interested and have shown engagement. And if you do that and you're monitoring your open rates and you're high teens, 20s, 30%, as long as you're anywhere in that range, you're fine. You're safe. You're not going to do yourself any damage. Your frequency is good, and that you're emailing a good interested segment of people. On the other hand, if you have segmentation wrong and your open rates are down like below 10% consistently, or for me, like 10, 11, 12, 13%, if that's like your average, you're kind of on the borderline. You're sending emails to a lot of people who are either not that interested, or you kind of have a bad reputation, and a lot of people are getting them in their spam folder because you've kind of done some bad practices in the past. So if you can maintain open rates in the high teens, and if you can send every day and get that open rate, fine. If not, then you need to figure out your strategy. But yeah, segmentation is the thing. If you want to go away and research it, look for guides and things like that around email segmentation. I have some training on it. You really need to figure out segmentation if you want to up your frequency. And yeah, and you need to be planning out in advance. You need to be building a balanced calendar that has, the things that I mentioned earlier: promos, product info, social proof, education, and yeah, that basically sums it up.
Beautiful. How worried are you these days with email deliverability? Is that something you focus on a lot? You think as long as it's kind of just taken care of correctly from the get-go, you don't really see it as a big issue? Kind of, what are your thoughts, highest level?
Yeah, I'm very focused on it, but not at all worried about it. It's very easy to maintain good email deliverability. So one of the things, so segmentation, first of all, is going to play a big role in that. If you're emailing people who are interested and have a history of opening and engaging with your emails, never going to have a problem unless you start sending out stupid stuff and affiliate links and all that. In terms of how to deal with it, you said something about building it up, I think, just now. There are things that you can do. So what the main thing that platforms like all the inbox providers, so Gmail, Yahoo, the rest of them, what they are looking for is they're looking for engagement. So are people opening your emails? Are they clicking them, and are they replying to them? So what I like to do is, when someone first comes onto an email list with a brand, we want to get them engaging straight away. So we want to get them opening, we want to get them clicking, and we want to get them hopefully replying. So the first kind of interaction that a brand has with a new subscriber, for the most part, is going to be the welcome sequence, which is, someone puts their email address in the footer, or a pop-up, or a quiz, or whatever your lead generation point is. They're going to go through the welcome sequence. That might be 3, 5, 7 emails, whatever it is. So what we want to do is we want to get the engagement on that sequence as high as possible. So you want to get really high open rates. We want to get people clicking through those emails, and we want a couple of emails in there that are, have the sole goal of getting replies as well. Because if someone comes into our brand, straight away they're showing high engagement. That immediately gives us a much better chance of getting future emails into their inbox. So, 30 days from now, we're sending out a sales promotion. These people have a history of engaging with us, so they're more likely to get our stuff. So you want to start them off on the right foot. And, that's going to build up over time. Your deliverability is going to get better and better, the better your engagement gets. And then the opposite of that is just completely strip out anyone that does not have a history of engaging with your emails. So segmentation, go into your platform. If someone received 15 emails from you and not opened any of them, like, just don't bother sending to them anymore. The sales that you're going to get from that are going to be terrible. Any small amount of sales that you would get from continually emailing those people are going to be vastly offset by the fact that you're harming your deliverability by setting off potential red flags with Gmail and things like that, because they see you're emailing someone over and over. Okay, you've sent this person 15 emails, they still haven't opened. Here's number 16, here's number 17. Like, you cannot keep doing that. After a while, you're just going to start going into the spam folder. So focus on the people that are opening and clicking. Forget about the people that don't show any interest. That is basically the long and short of it. And just to wrap that thought up, I would say the first 1 or 2 emails in the welcome sequence, get the open rate as high as you can on that by split testing the subject lines, angles, everything. Get the click-through rate as high as possible. So don't give everything in the way in the email. Get people clicking through to the website. And then also in the welcome sequence, have an email or 2 that is designed specifically just to get a reply. So it might be a plain text email, or just a really simple email that asks the question. It might be, so a really good example of a brand doing this is BombTech Golf. They're one of the Klaviyo case studies. I think they just say, like, they sell golf clubs, and I think they just say something like, I can't remember what it is, but it's something like, which brand do you use currently? Just let us know in a 1-word reply. We're really interested. We're intrigued to know what you're using. So someone that opens that, they can just click. I don't know anything about golf, but Titleist, I guess, is the golf brand. They can just write Titleist and reply. Now, one, that's going to start a 2-way conversation and things like that, and you'll actually get a lot of sales from that because brands don't typically do that. But it shows, like, Gmail and Yahoo and all these inbox providers, like, wow, we have a brand sending marketing emails and people are replying to them. Like, what? Like, that never happens. So your engagement is really good right off the bat. And that's really going to do wonders for your deliverability. So it's more about engagement. It's more about emailing the right people. It's less about the content itself. Obviously, don't do anything stupid, but it's less about the content and more about the engagement. Is my kind of summary. And we have a huge section on deliverability in my program, but that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, those are 2 great tips, man. The getting the click through and the order notification, and then some type of plain text, just asking A or B, this or this,
Yep.
like simple response, 1-word responses. I've done some stuff that's been a lot trickier, not trickier, not like deceptive, but like, hey, respond and I'll give you a free training or something. Like, look, I sold this in the past for this. You get this if you just respond. I want it.
Yeah.
But I don't even think it needs to be, like you said, that crazy. It's just give me a one-word response would be a lot easier for me of a campaign to come up with and to run. So I love that.
Yeah, one thing I actually see people doing outside of e-commerce, which I haven't got an e-commerce brand managed to persuade them to try this yet, but you opt in for something like a training or a PDF or whatever, and the email that you get, you think it's going to deliver the thing, and it says, reply to this email, and then we're sending it to you. Like, just reply yes that you actually want this. Now that straight away, like, that is going to set you up to have a massively engaged list, because basically everybody is opening and replying to that first email. So you could, I've not tested this with e-commerce, but I imagine that would do very well. Reply if you want your coupon code. Then you obviously need
Yep.
to set something up to send it back. You obviously you're going to lose some initial sales on the front end there
Yep.
because people are not just seeing the code, getting it, and buying straight away. So you need to, balance this and see if it's actually worth it. But in terms of just talking about engagement, that is the kind of thing that is really going to ramp that up.
You said something too that was brilliant on the order notification, try to get a click through. Thoughts on how you do that realistically? Like that's great, but
Um,
my brain just goes, how do I do that?
Not
Um,
really. It wasn't on the order
just in
notification,
the first couple emails.
just in the first couple of emails. Yeah. So really, the vast majority of emails that the vast majority of people, the first things they're going to get are your welcome sequence. So most people are not ordering straight away. And a lot of brands, they're just using Shopify for the order notifications. You can send them via third-party tool like Klaviyo, but they're very strict on what you can have in those emails because they can't be classed as like marketing emails. So you can't do too much clever stuff with the order notification email because it is a legally required email that you have to send, I believe. So they won't let you like get tricky with it. But yeah, I was talking about getting the open rates and the click-through rates as high as possible on those first welcome sequence emails, and setting up that really high engagement from the start.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I was trying to think of a good, yeah, I'll have to go look. You got me intrigued now. What's a good way to get a good click-through rate right out of the beginning? Maybe like a scratch and sniff coupon or something like that, so they don't know what they're getting or something, right? So that they gotta like go see, like curiosity based. Like
Yeah, I mean,
what are some
well,
good
with
click-through rate emails?
the good thing about using, a coupon to, build your list is people that want that coupon, they're signing up for it for a reason because they want to make that first purchase. So typically, your first welcome email, it can be very, very simple. People are opening it for the coupon. You don't want to go into all this stuff about your brand story and all this stuff. You just want, here's the coupon you wanted, like click here and it like auto applies it basically. So in Shopify, you can do these like auto apply coupons. Click here to shop with 15% off. Like just give them what they wanted. And you're going to get a high open rate and a high click-through rate on that because that is the sole reason that people are opening the email. So just like remove all the distractions, like don't have all this other stuff in there that is not necessary. And then, if we're talking about later on in the sequence, that's when it gets a bit more tricky. So, you might, maybe your second email or third email or whatever, it might be a piece of content, it might be a video or some kind of blog post that like builds your authority, but also subtly sells your product. Well, what you want to do in the email is you want to sell the piece of content. So one of the examples I use for this exact topic in my program is an email from Perfect Keto, and I believe it's from their welcome sequence. And their whole product line is around ketosis and like the keto diet and things like that. So early on, they have a video, and it's like 3 tips to get into ketosis quickly. Like that's the subject line. So anybody that signs up, like, oh, I want to see these, like that's great. You open the email, and it's just like, one small piece of copy, like one line, again, pre-selling the video. And then the CTA in the video is just a screenshot of the video with a play button. So you have to click, go through, and watch the video on their site. So anyone that opens the email, they want to know what their 3 tips are. But you don't give away the whole 3 tips in the email. You say, here's the video that we made that explains these, and that's it. And then you get them to click through. So you sell the click
Yep.
rather than anything else. So that's it. Super simple email, very little copy. You're getting them in, you're getting the click, and you're getting them the hell out.
So we're going to wrap this thing up real quick. My team, Eduardo from my team that reached out to you to schedule this, put a note here, and I'm curious your take on it. He said that one of the things that you talk about is a same day upsell. Can you talk about that via email? What is
Yeah,
that? Why does it exist? Give us a little context.
yeah, for sure. So this is something that works really, really well. So you see a lot of there's a couple of apps that got released over the last few years for Shopify. I think one's called Cart Hook, one's Ezra's app. It's called
Yep.
like One Click Upsell or something like that, where you make a purchase. They're kind of like taking over the Shopify cart, so you have
Yep.
control over it. You make your purchase, and then the thank you page is basically an OTO, like you would see in a regular funnel. So it's like, get this extra T-shirt for like 50% off. You'll never see this again or whatever. And that works really well. You can do the same thing via email, basically. This is an idea that I first got from a guy called Drew Sanoki, who was with a brand called Karma Loop, who are a very successful e-commerce brand. He now does email for Eecom too. They did it, and he explained that strategy. And basically what you're doing, or the way I teach to do it, is you make the purchase. You get the standard Shopify receipt that just says thank you for your order. And then a few minutes later, or the same day, like maybe 5 minutes later, anywhere up to an hour later, you just get an OTO email that's basically, thank you for your purchase. Here's basically a one-time offer to come back today, and exactly the same idea. Buy this complimentary product for 50% off, like for the next 24 hours or whatever it is. And that can, like, if you're doing ads and breaking even or close to breaking even on the front end, if you run an offer like that just has a couple percent take rate, you can change something that goes from break even to profitable real quick. And you can be making a lot of money on day one where you would otherwise be breaking even, instead of waiting like 30 days to get a customer to profit. So cash flow is just a massive issue for e-commerce brands. Obviously, a lot of them are like paying up front for product, then you have to pay for ads, and then you're running your ads at break even, so you're still in the hole. So anything that you can do to improve that same day ROI, if you don't want to use one of these apps to do it in Shopify, and there's a lot of reasons that some brands don't, you can do the same thing in email with basically an instant upsell, where you're trying to get someone to make that second purchase on day one with a one-time offer.
So I've always seen I've seen the one-click upsells. I helped a little e-commerce company here in South Florida implement that, and their thing was like, well, what do we upsell? Like they sell very simple products, just redesigned differently. I'm like, just
Mm-hmm.
make it the same thing, but save 50%, right? Like their cost of
Yep.
goods and their shipping is like nothing. To add one more is like, I mean, pennies. Like it costs almost nothing. And I think their take rate is like 25% on that upsell. So that's really good, Ryan. And that definitely helps them be profitable when they're driving cold traffic. Um, would you also send an email? Like if they said no, basically to the upsell, maybe you still send it and say, you got 24 hours to or something before we ship your package? Like, would that be an idea, or what would your thought be? I'm just curious, mindset
Yeah, I
wise.
mean, I've not implemented the email upsell for any brands that are also doing it on site, but I would
Okay.
definitely say it's worth it, primarily because, if you're on like a mobile or something, a lot of purchases are happening on mobile. You might see this, you might just not even pay attention to it, or you've hit your order, that's it, you're done. I can see like a lot of people not taking it on mobile. You a couple of hours later, you come home and you get the offer again in your email. You can kind of, you've got a little bit more time to review it or whatever. So I would say, absolutely try it. And you'll add filters in Klaviyo or whatever, people that have not made this other purchase. So I would say, yeah, try it. I'm sure it would add. I'm sure it would add additional revenue. I've not done it where you're doing it on site and then trying it again via email, but I can't really see how it wouldn't improve the conversion rate.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's an amazing one, and I think probably very often overlooked as well. So I really appreciate the last 50 or so minutes of our time here together. It's been really, really good. I know that I've had some aha moments to help me implement for a couple ecom companies that I work with, and also a couple little projects that I'm running on my own. So first and foremost, man, just want to say thank you for your time.
No,
And
thank
then
you.
in the spirit of wrapping things up, instead of asking you to recommend 3 books, like most podcasts do, we do things a little different here. I want to ask you, what's the one book that when you look at your business, Ryan, today, you think has made the biggest impact on the way that you actually do business?
For me, this definitely applies to business. It's basically just for everything in life. It's called The Slight Edge. I don't know if you have. Yeah, it sounds like you've heard of it. Like in one sentence, it's basically just consistency over time will compound. And if you just keep at it, like it starts off like this and you think, oh, this is not working, it's not working, and it goes like this. And then before you know it, like, and that just applies to everything, business, life, whatever it might be. That is basically the principle. But I would just say everybody needs to read that book, whether they're in business, whether they're trying to achieve anything. That book, like the philosophies in there, really I found super valuable. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's called The Slight Edge.
Yeah, man, you're like the third person I think that said this, and I haven't read it yet.
Oh
So
man,
it's going to the top
it's
of
a
my list now.
pretty easy read. Um, Not too much fluff, and the guy's story is interesting as well because he's been up and down and like highest of highs, lowest of lows. So I think like I resonated with his story, and I think a lot of people will. So yeah, absolutely.
Perfect, man. So we'll link up every resource that you've mentioned here, and I just want to say thank you, Ryan, for giving with so much value. I really appreciate it, and we'll make sure that we link up to your free Facebook group as well. And thanks, man, and I'm looking forward to connecting again in the future here.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Joe. Thanks for everything you do. Really happy we did this. So again, I appreciate it.
All right, guys, that's it. That's a wrap. Another episode of Show Me the Nuggets in the book. Please take a moment and comment and thank Ryan for coming on the show. Super excited to finally get him on. All right, guys, sayonara.
Thank you.